Sunday, January the 13th, 1952. The lifeboat was called just after 11 p.m. to the 4,000-ton French freighter Argan. Visibility was poor, with driving rain and strong winds. We were unable to get an accurate position of the vessel. We searched along the inside edge of the sands, then put about into the teeth of the storm and continued searching towards the South Goodwin. We finally spotted a faint red flare, which had been fired. Fred Upton turned the lifeboat and tried to go straight across the sands to the position of the flare, but the seas were so bad in the shallow water, he turned back and went around the outer edge of the sands. It took 5 hours to locate and reach the ship. 14 times Upton tried to get alongside the wreck, which had now broken in half. We managed to get alongside her, but we were being smashed against her hull really bad, and the seas were breaking right over the wreck, and every huge sea was lifting us above her deck. There was a danger of the lifeboat being flung onto her deck. We stood off and waited until 6 a.m. Then we steamed through the 30-foot gap between the two parts of the vessel, with jagged metal sticking out everywhere. We managed to gain a secure hold on her hull, and the Frenchmen slid down ropes and were hauled into the lifeboat. The skipper refused to leave the ship, so Upton returned to shore with the 38 rescued crew and 2 passengers, one of whom had an injured back. We refueled the lifeboat and launched again to the wreck. This time the skipper was prepared to leave. He was Captain Maurice Landreneau. We returned to shore at 10:30 a.m. after 11 hard hours. At some time during the night, the 17,598-ton Panamanian tanker Sovac Radiant stranded bow into the cliffs with the seas breaking clean over her. She was eventually pulled clear by salvage vessels in the morning of the following day. The Argan was bound from Dakar to Hamburg with a deck cargo of mahogany and below decks cotton and coffee. By early Tuesday, much of the bulks of timber were drifting about in the channel. Trinity House sent a vessel to retrieve as many as possible, as they were a danger to shipping. The Argan is the 4th wreck in the area since the war ended, and the part of the South Sands where these vessels found us was named Commodity Corner. The 4 vessels that lie here are the Lurry Victory, the Ira, the Santa Gata and the Argan. Counting the Northeast Victory and the Silvia Ornato, the lifeboat has saved 245 people from major shipwrecks in a 3-mile area since the end of the war. Fred Upton was to get a bar, together with a silver medal, and all the crew received medals from the French Lifeboat Service. Saturday, August the 2nd, the Calais-bound cabin cruiser Peredith II broke down off Kingsdown and drifted ashore. The Sunbeam with Frank Arnold, Ben Bailey and the Dads towed it back to Ramsgate. Saturday, September the 8th. The 1952 Regatta Rescue Race was won by Ben Bailey. Severe thunderstorms accompanied by 4 inches of rain in 7 hours caused extreme flooding in Deal. Surprisingly, the summer season was another lean one for the boatmen. Thursday, November the 27th. Ben and the rest of the Warmer lifeboat crew go to the French Embassy to receive medals for their part in the rescue of the crew from the Argan. January the 1st, 1953. The Council discussed the possible dredging of the Break Sands. Saturday, January the 10th. In dense fog at dusk, the Costa Rican tanker Asta and the French freighter Forzen collided 14 miles east of Deal, midway between the East Goodwins and the Sandetti. Warmer lifeboat launched at 5:15 a.m. and steamed in nil visibility straight across the sands, reaching the casualties 2 hours later in slowly clearing weather. The tanker was hit deep amidships, and the Forzen's bells were smashed back upwards. Ben Bailey saw 3 cowls in the bells of the Forzen. The lifeboat returned 14 hours later, soaked in crude oil. Sunday, February the 1st, 1953. The worst floods in living memory hit the town. A west-northwest gale brought huge seas crashing over the seafront and down all the side streets. Much damage was done to the seawall and promenade. Huge chunks of the promenade, some 7 to 8 feet long, were flung hundreds of yards by the sea. Shingle was swept down into the roads and gardens by the force of the huge swells. The beach itself was totally stripped of shingle and was scared out down to the hard. The Royal Hotel's outer and inner windows were smashed and the sea came rushing through. Sandown Castle remains took a hammering, with some of the ancient stone being unearthed and flung everywhere. People in Sandown Road were drenched by the sea crashing over their roofs. The sea breached over the promenade for 4 hours and caused terrific subsidence in Harold Road. Many sheep and cows perished in the country as a result of the flooding. After the River Stowers banks had been breached, a local farmer, Mr. Birch, lost 187 sheep. Altogether, 7,000 acres of arable land was ruined and will only be able to grow grass for the next 5 years. Many of the newly constructed houses in Northdale Estate were flooded to a depth of 3 feet. Workmen working on Ethelbert Road houses found a herring 300 yards from the sea. High street shops were badly flooded and most of the boats were taken off the beach and put down the side streets for safety. Margate and Whitstable faced the full brunt of the storm, and Margate's lighthouse at the end of the pier collapsed into the sea. Later in the day, property belonging to various Kent towns such as deck chairs, tables, etc. was seen floating near the Goodwin Sands. The country districts surrounding Dill were more flooded. It was several days before all the floodwater soaked westwards. A dead sheep was found 12 foot up an apple tree. Sandwich and Dill Road was under several feet of water and wasn't open to traffic until March the 12th. Monday, the 26th of April, a Boulogne trawler runs into the wreck of the Dinard. Warmer lifeboat towed it off. Sunday, May the 3rd, the lifeboat launched to the Everard coaster Andity. The cook had injured his back in heavy seas. The coaster steamed to the bank buoy to meet the lifeboat, which Dr. Hall was on board. The casualty was transferred and brought ashore for treatment. Sunday, May the 24th. Following a hot Saturday, dense fog shut in just after dark. The Maroons were fired, and the lifeboat launched at 2:30 a.m. to search for survivors which had abandoned the Swedish ship Andaman. They were floating about in the Downs in the ship's lifeboats. The men were found and picked up by the British coaster and transferred to the Dover lifeboat. On the way home, the lifeboat saw a tame pigeon and part of the wreckage that was floating about from the wreck. We were out for 6 hours. Thursday, June the 11th. The frigate Tintagel Castle visited Dill during Coronation Week. Boatmen didn't do very well tripping as the weather was extremely bad. September the 2nd and 3rd. Regatta results. The paddle punt race. Third was J Middleton with Dennis Fishlock as cox at 9 years old. Doc Bailey wins the galley race. It is another lean year for the boatmen, although it appears that angling parties are picking up. Monday the 19th of October. East Kent lifeboats, including Walmer, searched for the pilot from an Empire jet that crashed into the sea near the East Goodwin lightship. Nothing was ever found. November the 30th. So far it's been the best herring season for 20 years, but prices were very low. Friday the 4th of December. Frank Arnold dies. The Walmer lifeboat had to take the Xmas fair to the lightships because the weather was so rough and conditions were so bad.